landscape of Wisconsin, there's a chilling mystery that lingers in whispers and half-forgotten memories. According to legend, there once was a town named Doveland, a small, close-knit community with friendly neighbours and quiet streets. Yet, by the early 1990s, Doveland had disappeared without a trace. Not merely abandoned or decayed, but entirely erased, as if it had never existed. Today, there are no maps, no records, not even a mention of it in official documents. Yet, people swear they remember it, and others carry fragments of its memory in objects and eerie recollections. Locals and former residents insist they once visited or even lived in Doveland. They recall the roads, the town square, the shops, and the lake that glistened under summer skies. Some claim they have souvenirs, t-shirts, postcards, or even keychains that bear the name Doveland, Wisconsin. These objects are rare, kept like relics, though the origins are lost and faded, as if each one were a relic from a place beyond reach. Those who find themselves in possession of these objects describe an uneasy feeling, as if they hold a piece of something that wasn't meant to be remembered. The most unnerving aspect of the legend is that no one seems to agree on what happened to Doveland. Some say it was the result of a government experiment gone wrong, a project that shattered the fabric of reality itself. Others whisper about a tragedy so horrific that the town was erased to protect outsiders from its dark secrets. And still, there are those who believe Doveland simply slipped through a crack in time, disappearing into another dimension, leaving only the faintest of imprints in our world. Strangers passing through the area where Doveland once stood often report feeling lost or uneasy, as if they're being watched by something unseen. There are other eerie reports as well. Travellers say that on certain nights they've seen faint lights through the trees and heard the distant sounds of music and laughter, as though a town was still there, celebrating in the darkness. Some even say they've glimpsed ghostly figures in the shadows, walking along non-existent streets, whispering words that dissolve in the wind. People who claim to have lived in Doveland share an unsettling commonality. They all experience recurring dreams of returning to the town, walking familiar streets, greeted by familiar faces, faces they now cannot remember. They wake with a sense of deep loss, as if a part of themselves was left behind in that town that no longer exists. Strangers who visit the region sometimes describe feeling a magnetic pull to a place that doesn't appear on any map, or an intense sense of déjà vu, like they've stepped into a place they once knew but cannot recall. Doveland, Wisconsin remains an enigma, a town lost to time or perhaps to something far darker. Its absence lingers like a wound, and those who remember it are left with the eerie feeling that a piece of reality has slipped away, taking with it a slice of their own lives. The mystery of Doveland hangs like a shadow over the region, a strange void that beckons to those who seek it, yet warns of dangers hidden within forgotten places. For those who dare to remember or seek to uncover its secrets, there's always the haunting question: what happens to those who dig too deep into a place that was never meant to be found? In the shadow-laden landscape of American folklore, few tales evoke the chill of the Crybaby Bridge. Across the United States, numerous bridges bear this macabre nickname, each story rooted in a haunting event so sorrowful that the echoes seem to transcend time itself. These structures, often decrepit and isolated, are united by the eerie phenomenon of phantom infant wails that pierce the stillness of the night. One such bridge looms on the outskirts of a small, weathered town, cloaked in the thick mists that rise from the river below. Local legend has it that many decades ago, a young mother, driven by despair and madness, threw her newborn child from the bridge into the icy waters beneath. They say she was consumed by grief and torment over her deed, and that her wails mingled with those Those who dare to walk the bridge after dark report hearing the harrowing sounds of a baby's cries, so real and so close that they turn in desperation, searching for the child they can never find. Some also hear the ghostly lament of the mother, a mournful wail that drifts across the river and settles like a cold shroud upon the hearts of the listeners. The Crybaby Bridge has become a rite of passage for the local youth, a test of courage or foolhardiness. Teenagers gather in hushed groups, their voices low, as they dare one another to cross the bridge at midnight. Armed only with flashlights that cast long, ominous shadows, they step onto the creaking wood, each plank groaning under the weight of the grim history it bears. As they reach the centre, where the river runs darkest, the cries begin. At first, a soft whimpering, it soon swells into a crescendo of screams, so visceral that many flee in terror, swearing never to return. Others speak of seeing a spectral figure of a woman, her gown flowing and pale in the moonlight, her arms reaching out for the child she will never hold again. Cameras and phones, intended to capture proof, inexplicably fail, leaving only the memories of those haunted by what they have experienced. The Crybaby Bridge serves as a stark reminder of the past's grip on the present, its story passed down through generations as a chilling warning. It is a place where the boundary between this world and the next is thin, where sorrow and tragedy are etched into the very landscape, and the cries of the lost are never far from earshot. Tonight, we journey to Iowa City, where the eerie legend of the Black Angel awaits. Let the mysterious tale of this cursed statue guide you into a peaceful and restful sleep. The Black Angel is a haunting urban legend centered around a statue in Oakland Cemetery, Iowa City. The statue, standing over 8 feet tall, was erected in 1912 to mark the grave of Teresa Feldovert, a woman of Czech descent. Over time, the statue gained a sinister reputation, and many locals began to believe it was cursed. The Black Angel originally had a bright bronze colour, but as the years passed, it darkened to a deep black, which fueled the legend's eerie narrative. Some say the change in colour represents the anger or grief of Teresa's spirit. Others believe the blackened statue is an omen of death, with various warnings attached to it. One popular belief is that anyone who touches or kisses the statue will be met with an untimely death. Another variation claims that those who look directly into the angel's eyes at midnight will be cursed. The statue's mysterious appearance, combined with its dark colour and imposing presence, has made it a popular site for paranormal enthusiasts and thrill seekers. Many visit the cemetery to test the legend, while others keep their distance, unwilling to risk the supposed curse. Though the Black Angel story is rooted in local folklore, the real cause of the statue's discoloration is simply weathering and oxidation of the bronze. Despite this, the legend remains a captivating part of Iowa City's history, continuing to intrigue and frighten those who hear it. Whether cursed or not, the Black Angel stands as a reminder of how myths can grow around even the most ordinary objects. Tonight we journey to the misty moors of Cornwall to uncover the legend of the beast of Bodmin Moor. Relax, unwind, and let this mysterious tale help you drift into sleep. The beast of Bodmin Moor is a popular folklore legend from Cornwall, England, centred around sightings of a mysterious, large, black cat-like creature. First reported in 1978, the legend of the beast quickly gained traction as locals began to claim encounters with a phantom panther or leopard-like animal roaming the wild expanses of Bodmin Moor. This eerie creature was said to have sleek black fur, glowing eyes, and a muscular build, often compared to big cats that typically wouldn't be found in the English countryside. The beast of Bodmin Moor gained further notoriety with reports of mutilated livestock, particularly sheep, that appeared to have been slain by a large predator. Farmers and locals were alarmed by these unexplained killings, which led to speculation that a dangerous wild animal was on the loose. The creature was believed to be responsible for these attacks, and over time the legend grew, with sightings occasionally reported even decades after the initial claims. Despite extensive investigations, including one by the British government in 1995, no conclusive evidence of the beast's existence has ever been found. The government's inquiry concluded that there was no verifiable proof of big cats living in the area, though this did little to dispel the legend. Some suggest that the beast might be an escaped exotic pet, while others believe it's purely myth. To this day, the beast of Bodmin Moor remains a staple of local folklore, continuing to spark curiosity and fear among both residents and visitors to the moor, adding a layer of mystery to the rugged landscape of Cornwall. In the chilling depths of Staten Island's folklore, a sinister figure known as Cropsey stalks the nightmares of those who dare to whisper his name. Originally conceived as a boogeyman to scare children into obedience, Cropsey evolved into a far more horrifying reality, merging with the true crimes of a man named Andre Rand, whose deeds during the 1970s and 1980s turned him into a living embodiment of the legend. The tale of Cropsey began as a ghost story, one that parents recounted during hushed evenings, a spectral figure lurking in the shadows of the woods, preying on wayward children who strayed too far from home. Descriptions varied, but all agreed on his ghastly demeanour, a disfigured face, haunting eyes, and a hook for a hand, dragging behind him the echoes of chains he rattled, a warning in the wind. As the urban legend grew, so did Cropsey's malevolence. He was said to reside in the ruins of the abandoned Willowbrook State School, a place already steeped in dark history due to its controversial past, as a residence for children with disabilities, subjected to horrendous conditions. Here, Cropsey found his sinister refuge, emerging under the cloak of night to chase the echoes of laughter with a hunter's glee. But the line between myth and reality blurred horrifically when children in Staten Island began to disappear in the 1970s and 80s. Panic gripped the community as the legend of Cropsey seemed to come alive. attention to the legend, each disappearance a grim chapter added to the lore. Today, the story of Cropsey remains a macabre token of Staten Island's history. The dilapidated structures of Willowbrook still stand, overgrown and forsaken, yet pulsing with the dark heartbeat of past atrocities. Those who venture near claim to feel a chilling presence, hear the faint rattle of chains, or see a shadow dart between the trees. Cropsey has transcended his origins as a mere boogeyman to become a symbol of real-life horrors, a cautionary tale that warns of the monsters that may dwell not just in our stories, but in the very heart of our communities. Tonight we gently explore the captivating legend of Anastasia Romanov's survival. Settle in as we unravel the mystery of the lost Duchess and the hope that lingered for decades. The urban legend of Anastasia Romanov's survival is one of the most enduring and captivating stories of 20th century history. It revolves around the idea that Grand Duchess Anastasia Nikolaevna of Russia, the youngest daughter of Tsar Nicholas II, somehow escaped the tragic fate that befell her family during the Russian Revolution in 1918. While the rest of the Romanov family was believed to have been executed by Bolsheviks, rumours persisted for decades that Anastasia had miraculously survived and disappeared, living under a different identity. The legend began shortly after the Romanov family's execution. On July 17, 1918, Nicholas II, his wife Alexandra, and their 5 children, including Anastasia, were shot and killed by Bolshevik forces in a basement in Yekaterinburg. Their bodies were taken to a remote forest where they were hastily buried in unmarked graves. When the remains of the family were discovered years later, the bodies of 2 Romanov children were missing, including that of Anastasia. This fueled speculation that Anastasia had somehow survived the massacre. The mystery of Anastasia's fate took on a life of its own, with numerous women over the years coming forward claiming to be the lost Duchess. The most famous of these claimants was Anna Anderson, who emerged in the 1920s in Germany. Anderson insisted that she was Anastasia, and that she had survived the execution thanks to the help of a sympathetic guard. According to her story, she had sustained injuries, but managed to escape and was taken to safety. Her claims garnered international attention, and while many doubted her authenticity, she also attracted a significant following of people who wanted to believe in the possibility that the Romanov princess had survived. Anna Anderson's story was captivating, especially in an era still reeling from the aftershocks of World War I and the Russian Revolution. The idea that one of the Romanovs had escaped the revolution and was living in secret was an enticing fantasy for many royalists and others who were sympathetic to the Romanov family. However, while Anderson's claim seemed plausible to some, many who knew the Romanovs dismissed her story. Let's journey into the mysterious world of the Boo Hags, a spine-chilling urban legend from the Gullah culture. Relax, close your eyes, and let this eerie tale guide you into sleep. The legend of the Boo Hags originates from the Gullah culture, deeply rooted in the coastal regions of South Carolina and Georgia. These skinless, vampire-like witches are said to be evil souls who remain in the mortal world after death, seeking out the living to continue their existence. Unlike traditional vampires, Boo Hags don't drain their victims of blood. Instead, they feed off their breath, leaving their prey exhausted and lifeless. According to the legend, Boo Hags are born from wicked souls who fail to move on to the afterlife. Without their skin, they appear grotesque, raw, red, slipping it on like a disguise. Once they've taken someone's skin, they go out into the night to ride. This is a term used to describe their haunting behaviour, where they visit the homes of unsuspecting victims and take control of their bodies while they sleep. The process begins when a boo hag silently enters a home, usually through cracks or open windows, as they are believed to be capable of squeezing through the smallest of spaces. Once inside, they sit on the chest of their sleeping target, feeding on their breath and life energy. As the boo hag drains its victim, the person will experience intense nightmares, leaving them physically weakened by morning. While the boo hag feeds, the victim is paralysed, unable to move or wake. By dawn, the witch leaves its victim, slipping away before anyone realises what happened. However, boo hags have a weakness. They must return the skin they've stolen before sunrise, or they will be exposed and destroyed by daylight. If caught without their skin, they are vulnerable and can be easily defeated. To protect themselves, people in Gullah communities often took precautions to ward off these sinister beings. One method involved placing a broom by the door or scattering rice on the floor, as boo hags are said to be compelled to count small objects. If a boo hag becomes distracted by counting, it won't have enough time to finish before the sun rises, forcing it to retreat to avoid being caught. Another common belief is that painting windowsills and doors blue, a colour thought to repel evil spirits, can keep boo hags from entering a home. The colour, known as haint blue, is a staple in many Gullah households, used to protect against a range of supernatural threats, including boo hags. Those unlucky enough to fall victim to a boo hag may wake up feeling completely drained, as if they've run a marathon in their sleep. The exhaustion is a telltale sign that a boo hag visited during the night. If a boo hag becomes particularly attached to a victim, they may return night after night, eventually leading to the victim's death through sheer exhaustion and depletion of life energy. The boo hag legend is a chilling reminder of the dangers lurking in the shadows of the night. It warns people to be cautious, vigilant, and to protect themselves against malevolent spirits that may be waiting to take their skin for a deadly ride. The story continues to be passed down through generations. Tonight, let's uncover the haunting legend of the Bell Witch, a mysterious entity that terrorised a family in early 19th century Tennessee. Relax and let this eerie tale guide you to restful sleep. The Bell Witch is an enduring folklore legend that originated in Robertson County, Tennessee, from 1817 to 1821. The story centres around the Bell family, particularly John Bell Sr., a farmer whose household and nearby community were reportedly terrorised by a mysterious and mostly invisible entity. Unlike typical ghost stories, the Bell Witch was said to be capable of speaking, interacting with the physical environment, and even shape-shifting. According to legend, the haunting began when John Bell Sr. encountered strange phenomena on his property, including unexplained noises such as knocking and scratching, and the sighting of bizarre animals. As time went on, the entity became more aggressive, attacking family members by pulling their hair, slapping them, and speaking in a disembodied voice. The witch, as it came to be known, seemed to hold a particular hatred for John Bell Sr. and his daughter Betsy. The Bell Witch's powers reportedly escalated, with the entity predicting events and conversing with visitors to the Bell home. Some accounts even claim that the witch was responsible for John Bell Sr.'s death in 1820, allegedly poisoning him. Over the years, the Bell Witch answers to the eerie tale. Tonight, let's drift into the mystical world of Alexandria's Genesis. Relax as we explore this captivating urban legend where purple eyes and timeless beauty weave a tale of wonder and mystery. Alexandria's Genesis is an intriguing urban legend about a fictional genetic mutation that supposedly grants individuals a range of supernatural physical traits. According to the myth, those who possess this mutation have striking purple eyes, which allegedly develop within 6 months of birth and remain a permanent feature throughout their lives. In addition to their unique eye colour, they are said to have smooth, shimmering pale skin, completely free of freckles and blemishes, and they supposedly lack body hair, except for the hair on their heads, eyebrows and eyelashes. One of the most extraordinary claims of Alexandria's Genesis is that women who carry the mutation do not menstruate, yet they remain fully fertile. This aspect of the legend has drawn particular fascination due to its suggestion that the mutation frees women from the typical biological processes of reproduction while still allowing them to have children. Other supposed benefits include a slow aging process that allows those with Alexandria's Genesis to live for over a century without showing signs of aging, maintaining youthful appearances well into old age. Additionally, individuals with the mutation are claimed to have heightened immune systems, making them resistant to diseases and giving them a remarkable level of physical endurance. Despite the captivating nature of the legend, Alexandria's Genesis is entirely fictional. The story originated from a piece of Daria fan fiction written in 1998, which described a character with these fantastical traits. Over time, particularly during the 2000s, the story began circulating on internet forums and social media, where it was presented as though it were a real genetic condition. The narrative quickly gained popularity as people were drawn to the idea of such a mutation, combining elements of beauty, immortality, and biological perfection. In reality, there is no scientific basis for Alexandria's Genesis. Purple eyes, the lack of body hair, and the absence of menstruation while maintaining fertility are biologically impossible under current genetic knowledge. In the shadows of Terrell, Texas, whispers and warnings have woven a chilling legend through the generations. A tale that clings to the fringes of nightmare and reality. They call her the Candy Lady, but behind the innocuous name lurks a sinister spectre named Clara Crane, whose story has haunted the town for over a century. The legend began in the early 1900s, when children in Terrell started to vanish without a trace. Desperate parents reported finding candies on their windowsills, pieces of caramels wrapped in crinkling parchment paper with tiny notes urging them to come out and play. The notes were always signed with a simple, eerie C. Whispered tales from older folks traced the unsettling gifts back to Clara Crane, a woman once known among the townsfolk. Clara, they said, had lived on the fringes of Tyrrell, a reclusive and peculiar widow, whose only solace after the death of her abusive husband was her young daughter. Her life spiralled into darkness when her daughter mysteriously died, with local gossip suggesting foul play. The town shunned her, whispering that she had gone mad with grief, her mind twisted by the tragedy. Some said she blamed the children of Tyrrell for her loss, believing they had enticed her daughter into some fatal mischief. After her daughter's death, Clara vanished into obscurity, leaving only the decrepit shell of her home as a testament to her existence. But the story of the Candy Lady did not end with her disappearance. It was as if her spirit, unquelled by death or reason, continued to seek vengeance. The candies kept appearing, each piece an eerie invitation from beyond the grave. The most unsettling accounts involve letters found with the older children, written as if Clara herself were conversing with them from the shadows. These letters were more sinister, promising the children their fill of sweets in life and in death. It was as if Clara was crafting a congregation of souls, luring the innocent with sugar-coated deceit. Late at night, when the moon cast a ghostly glow across the fields, some claimed to see a figure near the edge of the woods, a silhouette of a woman in a tattered gown, her face obscured by the darkness. They said it was Clara, watching, waiting for her next child to claim. Those who dared to venture too close to the woods at night reported hearing the soft, unsettling melody of a lullaby drifting through the trees, only to be swallowed up by the suffocating silence of the unseen. To this day, the legend of Clara Crane, the Candy Lady, lingers in the air of Tyrrell like a thick fog. Parents tightly secure their windows, wary of the old tale, and remind their children to steer clear of the sweets that might appear unbidden. As Halloween approaches each year, the tension in the town tightens, a collective memory of the loss stirring in the hearts of those who remember. And so, the community watches and waits, the legend of Clara Crane etched deep in their bones, a spectral reminder that some tales are too chilling to be forgotten, and some spirits too vengeful to rest. Welcome to the chilling tale of Mercy Brown, an urban legend from the quiet town of Exeter, Rhode Island. Relax, close your eyes, and let this mysterious story take you back in time. In the small, quiet town of Exeter, Rhode Island, during the late 19th century, the Brown family was plagued by tragedy. Tuberculosis, a deadly disease with no known cure at the time, had already claimed the lives of several members of the family. The illness was known as consumption, due to how it appeared to waste away its victims. George Brown, the patriarch, watched helplessly as one by one his loved ones fell ill and died. His wife, Mary Eliza, was the first to succumb, followed by his eldest daughter, Mary Olive, both taken within a few short years of each other. Despite these losses, George hoped the worst had passed. However, his youngest daughter, Mercy Brown, soon fell ill with the same symptoms. Mercy was a bright young woman, but tuberculosis did not spare her, and she died in January 1892 at the age of 19. Her death left the Brown family devastated, but the horror was not yet over. Just weeks after Mercy's passing, her brother, Edwin, who had been ill for some time, took a turn for the worse. Fearing for his life, desperate measures were taken, leading to the birth of an enduring legend. At the time, tuberculosis was not well understood, and in many rural communities, fear and superstition spread almost as quickly as the disease itself. In Exeter, some townsfolk began to whisper about the possibility of something more sinister. Could the dead be rising from their graves to drain the life from the living? This idea, while unthinkable to modern sensibilities, was deeply rooted in folklore at the time. In New England, there was a long-standing belief in vampires. Though these vampires were not the glamorous creatures of Gothic fiction, but rather the restless dead rising from their graves to consume the life force of their living relatives. George Brown, despite being a practical man, was persuaded by his neighbours to exhume the bodies of his deceased family members, hoping to find the cause of Edwin's worsening condition. In March of 1892, with the ground still frozen, a small group of men gathered in the graveyard where the Browns were buried. They first dug up the remains of George's wife and eldest daughter, but both had decomposed as expected. Then they turned to Mercy. Unlike the others, Mercy's body was found to be in a strangely preserved state, even though she had been buried for over 2 months. Her skin still appeared relatively intact, and there were even rumours that her body had shifted in the grave, as though she had been moving after death. The most alarming discovery, however, was the presence of fresh blood in her heart and veins. Tonight, we explore the mysterious legend of Area 51. Let your mind wander as we delve into the tales of secrecy, government conspiracies, and the question, are we truly alone? Area 51 is one of the most famous and enduring urban legends in modern times, often associated with government secrecy, extraterrestrial life, and mysterious UFO sightings. Officially known as a classified section of the Nevada Test and Training Range, Area 51 is a highly restricted military base located in the remote Nevada desert. While it serves as a testing site for experimental aircraft and weapons, the site has become the centre of countless conspiracy theories over the years, with many believing it holds evidence of extraterrestrial visitors and their advanced technology. The origins of the Area 51 legend date back to the late 1940s and 1950s, a period marked by the rapid development of aviation technology and a growing interest in UFO sightings. The US government's secrecy surrounding the activities at Area 51 only fueled public curiosity. Speculation intensified in the 1980s when a man named Bob Lazar claimed that he had worked at a site near Area 51 called S4, where he said the US government was reverse engineering alien spacecraft. Lazar's detailed descriptions of flying saucers, anti-gravity propulsion, and alien technology captured the public's imagination, even though his claims were widely disputed and lacked verifiable evidence. Over the decades, Area 51 became a symbol of government cover-ups, and the idea that the US military was hiding knowledge of extraterrestrial life. UFO enthusiasts believe that Area 51 Roswell incident, in which a mysterious object crashed in New Mexico. While the government eventually explained that the object was a weather balloon part of a classified project, many still believe it was an alien spacecraft and that its wreckage was transported to Area 51 for study. In addition to Lazar's claims, there have been numerous reports of strange lights and unidentified flying objects near Area 51, further fueling the legend. These sightings are often attributed to the secret testing of advanced military aircraft, such as the U-2 spy plane or the SR-71 Blackbird, both of which were developed and tested in the area. However, for those who believe in the extraterrestrial connection, these explanations are seen as mere cover stories. Despite the widespread speculation and intrigue, there has never been any concrete evidence to support the idea that Area 51 contains extraterrestrial technology or visitors from other planets. In fact, in 2013, the CIA officially acknowledged the existence of Area 51 for the first time, releasing declassified documents that detailed its role in testing advanced aircraft, but made no mention of aliens or UFOs. We dive into the unsettling tale of the Colander lie detector, a strange and eerie urban legend. Settle in, relax, and let this mysterious story guide you gently into sleep. An eerie urban legend from the 1960s speaks of a chilling interrogation method used by police or army investigators. It began with a crude yet unsettling setup. A colander, typically used for straining pasta, repurposed into a nightmarish piece of equipment. The investigators would place this everyday kitchen item onto the head of a suspect, but its sinister transformation didn't end there. Wires connected the colander to a photocopier, creating the illusion of advanced technology. In a dimly lit interrogation room, the suspect would sit nervously as the investigators loomed over them, watching intently. The tension was palpable, the walls closing in as the suspect was bombarded with questions. The investigators' eyes would dart back and forth between the suspect and the machine, waiting for the first crack in their story. Each time the suspect answered, the photocopier would whir to life, spitting out a fresh sheet of paper. The sound of its mechanical churning filled the room, amplifying the sense of dread. If the answer was deemed acceptable, the machine remained silent, offering a brief respite. But if the investigators found the response suspicious or dishonest, the copier would hiss and clunk, printing a single sheet with a damning message: "He's lying." The effect was immediate. Suspects, already frazzled and scared, would crumble under the pressure of the so-called lie detector, convinced that the colander was exposing their every falsehood. They couldn't know that it was all a cruel trick. The investigators manipulated the machine, not through science or technology, but through psychological warfare. The power of suggestion turned the colander and photocopier into terrifying tools, blurring the line between reality and fiction. Some say the interrogators used this method for years, laughing behind closed doors at how easily their victims were broken by the sight of a kitchen utensil on their head. But as with any legend, the line between truth and myth is thin. Stories began to circulate of suspects who couldn't handle the pressure, of minds unravelling as they became trapped in a game where the stakes felt life or death. Whispers of the colander lie detector persist, and while it's easy to dismiss it as a bizarre tale from the past, one can't help but wonder if, somewhere in a dark corner of the world, the machine is still being used, waiting to catch its next victim in its web of fear and deception. Tonight, we dive into the strange and surreal tale of aerial water bomber picking up a scuba diver. Relax as we explore this curious urban legend where the impossible becomes almost believable. The urban legend of the aerial water bomber picking up a scuba diver is a bizarre yet captivating tale that has made its way into popular culture and persists as one of the more outlandish myths in modern folklore. The story claims that an aerial water bomber, often described as either a large airplane or a helicopter equipped with a water scooping mechanism, accidentally scoops up an unsuspecting scuba diver from a body of water, only to later dump them, along with the water, over a wildfire site. According to the legend, the scuba diver is swimming or diving in a lake or reservoir when the water bomber, in an attempt to fill its tanks or bucket to help extinguish a wildfire, unknowingly captures the diver along with the water. The diver is then carried in the tank or bucket high into the air, transported to a burning forest, and dropped with the water onto the blaze. The legend typically ends with firefighters or rescue workers later discovering the charred remains of the unfortunate diver, still wearing their scuba gear, on the ground at the fire site. Some versions of the story include details of the diver's baffled expression or comments from authorities trying to piece together how the individual ended up there. This urban legend is particularly compelling because it combines elements of surprise, mystery, and dark humour, while also invoking themes of human error and the randomness of fate. It's easy to see why such a strange and tragic tale would spread, especially among communities familiar with both wildfires and water-based recreation. The concept of a scuba diver being unwittingly scooped up by a firefighting aircraft seems absurd, yet just plausible enough to intrigue listeners. The myth gained significant traction, in part due to its use as a plot device in movies such as Magnolia and Barney's version, where the bizarre event is depicted or referenced. These portrayals help cement the story in popular culture, allowing it to circulate more widely and persist as an intriguing piece of modern folklore. Despite its enduring appeal, the aerial water bomber picking up a scuba diver myth has been thoroughly debunked. Snopes.com, a well-known urban legend debunking site. Tonight, let me guide you into the shadows of ancient Spain, where the chilling legend of the Castilian lisp unfolds. Relax, close your eyes, and let the whispers of history lull you to sleep. In the dark corners of Spain's forgotten history, a chilling tale has lingered for centuries, whispered among locals and passed down from generation to generation. It's the legend of the Castilian lisp, a haunting story that, while discredited by scholars, continues to send shivers down the spines of those who hear it. Long ago, in a time when kings ruled with an iron fist and the boundaries between myth and reality were blurred, there was a king unlike any other. His name has been lost to the shadows of time, but his affliction, an unmistakable lisp, would echo across Spain, leaving a trail of fear and confusion in its wake. The king's speech was strange, almost inhuman, as though something had cursed his very words. His voice carried an eerie sibilance, a sound that cut through the air like the hiss of a snake. The court, terrified of the king's wrath, dared not speak of his speech defect, but whispers of dark magic and ancient curses spread beyond the castle walls, infecting the imagination of the populace. It was said that the king's lisp was no mere quirk of speech, but the result of a sinister pact made with forces beyond this world. Some claimed he had bargained with a demon for was twisted, forcing him to speak in a way that no one else could. Others believed that a vengeful witch had cursed him, condemning his voice to forever sound as though it were tethered to the underworld. As the legend goes, the king was a man of great influence, and no one dared to correct his speech. Instead, out of fear, the courtiers and nobles began to mimic the king's pronunciation. His strange lisp spread like a disease, infecting the tongues of those who sought to curry favour with the crown. Soon, it was said, the entire kingdom spoke as their king did, their voices carrying the cursed sound of the theatre. The streets echoed with the eerie lisp, a constant reminder of the dark secret lurking in Spain's past. Children grew up speaking the language of the damned, unaware of the malevolent forces that had shaped their words. Though historians have debunked this tale as pure fantasy, the legend persists, a chilling reminder of how even the most benign of sounds can carry with them the weight of a curse. The next time you hear the soft hiss of a theatre in Spanish speech, remember the tale of the cursed king and wonder what dark power still lingers behind the sound. Tonight, we explore the mysterious legend of Black Aggie, a haunting statue once feared for its supernatural powers. Relax, settle in, and let this eerie tale gently guide you to sleep. Black Aggie is an eerie urban legend centred around a mysterious statue that once stood at the grave of General Felix Agnes in Druid Ridge Cemetery, Pikesville, Maryland. The statue, a sombre figure draped in a cloak, resembled the well-known sculpture Grief by Augustus St. Gaudens. However, over time, Black Aggie became infamous for the supernatural tales that surrounded it. According to local law, strange and unsettling events began to occur after the statue was placed in the cemetery. People claimed that Aggie's eyes would glow red at night, and that anyone who looked into them would be struck blind or cursed. Another part of the legend states that if someone sat on Aggie's lap at midnight, they would either die within a year or be haunted by the statue. It was also rumoured that the shadow of Black Aggie would cause nearby grass to wither and die. Due to the growing number of ghostly tales and instances of vandalism, Black Aggie became a focal point for thrill seekers and paranormal enthusiasts. Many visited the statue, either to test the legend or to experience the supernatural aura that surrounded it. The stories grew, further embedding Black Aggie into Maryland's folklore. Eventually, the statue was removed from the cemetery in 1967 to put an end to the disturbances it caused. Though the statue itself is gone, the legend of Black Aggie continues to captivate in imaginations, with people still sharing stories of the haunted statue and the eerie events that took place in Druid Ridge Cemetery. Relax, settle in, and drift off as we unravel the eerie legend of the Catman of Greenock, a mysterious figure lurking in the darkened streets of Scotland, where shadows hide untold secrets. In the darkened streets of Greenock, Scotland, a sinister legend lurks in the shadows, a tale whispered since the 1970s. The Catman of Greenock Greenock, a creature both feared and pitied, has haunted the alleyways, becoming a story that locals tell in hushed voices to keep their children close at night. The Catman was said to be human once. No one really knows his name, nor what series of cruel misfortunes led him to crawl through the gutters, scavenging to survive. They say he emerged from the forgotten corners of society, driven by desperation, until his body took on a twisted, primal state. His skin is pallid, coated with grime and dirt, his eyes sunken, but glinting with an animalistic gleam. The Catman scuttles along the alleys and underpasses, always staying close to the ground, moving with an unsettling feline grace. It is said that he survives on rats, devouring them with his bare hands. Eyewitnesses claim to have seen him in the dead of night, his filthy fingers closing around a writhing rodent, sinking his teeth into the squirming creature, the crunch of bone and squeal of his prey echoing faintly against the bricks. The very sight of it sends shivers down the spine, a glimpse of a forgotten human reduced to something almost feral. Yet, it's not just the rats that keep the Catman company. Rumours tell of a colony of wild cats that live alongside him, creatures drawn to him by some inexplicable bond. They say he cares for them, shares his meals with them, and they, in turn, protect him. A grim pact between the lost and the forsaken. Locals swear they've seen him surrounded by these creatures, his bony hands stroking their mangy fur as if they were his only family. To some, he's become a twisted guardian of the alleyways, a protector of the stray and forgotten. People say if you wander the outskirts of Greenock at night, you might just catch a glimpse of him, eyes glowing like those of the wild cats, staring from the shadows. The bravest claim to have seen his crooked silhouette crawling across the ground, always close to his feline companions. Some who have dared to approach say they've heard him hiss, a low, guttural warning, more animal than man. No one knows where the Catman sleeps, or if he ever does. He vanishes with the sunrise, retreating to some dark hole beneath the streets, leaving only unease in his wake. To see the Catman of Greenock is to witness a living nightmare, a reminder of how close we all are to the edge of something monstrous, something forgotten, something